Go ahead, Michelle.
The Board of Cosmetology meeting is convening at 10:06 a.m. on January 24th, 2022 at the Health Licensing Office in Salem, Oregon by telephone conference call. I will now call roll. Michelle here. Amber Starks?
Here.
Ragnar?
Here.
Tracy?
Here.
Hein?
Here.
Harold?
He's not here yet.
Absent. Okay. Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. For the record, public members calling into the public phone line are asked to email April Fleming at april.fleming@dhsoha.state.or.us and provide your first and last name. Public and interested parties' feedback may be heard during the public interested parties' feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. This meeting is now called to order.
Thank you, Michelle. And if I may remind everybody on the phone, if you are not going to participate or participating in public and interested parties feedback, please put your phones on mute so we don't have a whole lot of feedback. So first on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
This
is Dragner. I move to approve
the agenda.
I'll second
it. Amber, I second.
So motion has been made and I will call roll. Michelle, aye. Amber?
Aye.
Ragnar?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Hein?
Aye.
Sorry I'm late, guys.
Michelle,
Morning,
this is
Harold.
Bob. Harold has joined us at 10:08. Okay. Next on the agenda is the director's report. So the health licensing office is only open for appointments only. I think 2.5 weeks ago now. Pretty much everybody but licensing staff went to work from home while we were going through this huge Omicron surge. So we are still doing testing and people are allowed to come in by appointment only. All right. Any questions with regards to that? Any questions regarding COVID or anything?
Nope, that sounds good.
All right. So next on the agenda is the licensing and fiscal statistic reports. First up is licenses issued to barbers in Q3, which is January, basically. The beginning of Q3 we've had 3 licenses issued, but there's a total in the last, in this biennium, 287 barber licenses issued. Hair design, we've had in this quarter 11 issued thus far, but in the biennium there's been 1,501. And there's a little bit of a fluctuation with the numbers, but they are pretty static. Nail technology, we've had 8 issued this quarter so far, and through the biennium we have issued 1,417. Any questions so far? Okay.
Sounds good.
Nope.
Moving on, natural hair care. We've had 2 licenses issued this quarter, and through the biennium, it's been a total of 72. Licensed estheticians, in this quarter, there's been 12, and through the biennium, there's been 2,404, and they too, all of them remain pretty static as far as the numbers go throughout the quarters, throughout the biennium. Independent contractors, excuse me, total of 14 this quarter, and through the biennium so far, there's been 2,325, and they too remain fairly static in their numbers. Freelance authorizations, 3 issued this quarter so far, and there's some fluctuation with them, and we've had a total throughout the biennium of 785 issued. And I think the fluctuation may be because with the freelance authorizations is some of them have to test every 3 years. Cosmetology facilities, 2003 have been issued this biennium, and in this quarter there's been a total of 19. And there's been a little more fluctuation with cosmetology facilities, and you'll see that it'll be more visible when we get to the graph. It's a different graph. Renewals, barber license renewals. So we do online and paper. The online and paper stay fairly static. There was a huge increase in Q1 of fiscal year 2021, where we had quite a few doing paper still, but it's since come down, and they're about par equal for online and paper renewals. And we've got a total in the last biennium of 3,544. Hair design, they're about par with each other and kind of have been throughout the biennium. And we've had a total of 25,293. Nail technology renewals, quite a few of them are online, and that's the direction we like to go. We want to continue to go. And we've had a total of 15,373 throughout the biennium. Licenses renewed for natural hair care. They're about equal in the renewal online versus paper. Estheticians, it looks like quite a few of them do online as well. Independent contractors as well, a lot of them are online. It certainly makes their life easy and keeps the office flowing at a faster pace. But you'll see here, this is the freelance authorization. They're about static, equal, and with the number of due on paper and due online. Any questions so far?
I have a quick question, Bob. So the difference between me sending in paperwork or me doing it online, I get a break financially, correct?
Correct. You get a financial break, and then if you don't have the amount of information that has to come in on paper, before, you have to check the box if you had a recent felony conviction or misdemeanor conviction or any other discipline with the board. If you miss a box or miss answering a question of any kind, likely the application won't get processed and it'll get mailed back.
So what's the financial difference between the two? Do you know? Is it just a couple bucks, $5, $10? How much is it?
So I see Tina's on the line, and so she's going to have that information. So Tina, you want to step up, please?
Currently, there is no break.
Okay. Maybe we should encourage that.
Encourage what?
Encourage them to go online and give them a financial break. That's my question.
Tina?
Currently, right now, due to the situation as far as revenue, that could be something potentially later that we will do, but currently we would not be able to do that.
Who makes that decision?
Legislature, I believe. Tina?
No, I don't think it's legislation, but once the revenue, because Sylvia would be more able to answer that question, but as of right now, cosmetology is in the hole. So we would not be able to offer that until a later date, but that's something that Sylvie could discuss. You know, we could bring that up to Sylvie to discuss that for individuals to start renewing online more.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next slide, license by age and gender. As a whole, it appears the field is predominantly female. And it's age and gender. The age is spread pretty evenly up until folks are, middle-aged, 50s, and it starts to the tail go down. Licensing trends for barbers is the next slide, and you can see since the beginning of 2020, it's started to taper off down into the third quarter of fiscal year 22, where it's starting to level out at 2,885. Hair design license trend, again, this one too has trailed off since the beginning of the fiscal year 2020, and that's at the beginning of COVID. And the last two quarters, I mean, on the graph it looks like a huge drop, but any loss of licensures could be monumental. So it's been about 400 that have dropped off, and maybe they're just retired or gone to other professions. Nail technology, same thing throughout the pandemic. It has trailed off in numbers, and this one by 1,000-ish. But it's leveled off here in the last two quarters with 12,823. Natural hair care. It's not a whole lot of licensees, but this graph shows you where through the early part of the pandemic it trailed off, then it picked back up and trailed off again, and looks like we're at an increase trend now. this quarter. Estheticians picked up during the last half of the fiscal year 2020 through the pandemic, and it trailed off again through the Delta and this most recent variant. But it looks like we're starting to trend northward with an increase in licenses issued. Independent contractors, similar, they picked up and then they trailed off and started to pick back up and have trailed off again. And looks like it's starting to move in the positive direction here in this quarter, and hopefully it continues to go that direction. Freelance authorizations really picked up, and through the middle of last year, late last year, and currently it's went down and leveled off. Facility license picked up a little bit and then trailed off in the last two quarters of fiscal year 2020, leveled out and then trailed off again. And it looks like it's moving in the right direction currently. Any questions about the trends for facilities and licenses issued? All right.
Looks good. Looks like what we expected, I think.
Okay, very good. I hope I'm making it clear, being in the hot seat and all. Sorry about this. So the next ones we'll go through are testing results. First one is barbering, and there hasn't been a whole lot in this last quarter. Barbering in Spanish or English. Aesthetics, we've had 2 pass and 4 fail, and none have taken it. It doesn't look like in aesthetics in Spanish. We've had a couple in the Vietnamese with 1 pass, 1 fail. And this is the test being taken in Spanish or Vietnamese languages. Hair design, in this quarter so far, we've had 4 pass, 2 fail. And I guess I should have done it with the other ones, but I'll start talking about the overall so everybody is on the same page. Throughout 19, 20, 21, and 22 so far, we've had 186 pass and 141 fail. With hair design, we've had 4 pass, 4 fail, but overall in the last 3+ years, we've had 2,284 pass, 982 have failed. Spanish, in the Spanish language, 35 have passed, 59 have failed. In Vietnamese, 22 have passed, 30 have failed. And that was all in hair design. In nail technology, we've had 3 pass this quarter, a total of 1,553 pass since 2019. And 584 fail. In the Spanish, 14 have passed, 13 have failed, none have taken the test in this recent quarter. And in Vietnamese, 604 have passed, and 542 have failed. In the most recent quarter, 1 has failed. Natural hair care. 40 have passed, 30 have failed. In the law, Oregon laws, 39 have passed in Spanish, 56 have failed. In Vietnamese, 650 have passed, 481 have failed. And laws and rules, 6,015 have passed, 2,790 have failed, and 8 have taken it and passed this quarter, and 4 have failed, taken it and failed. Any questions, concerns? And if the board moving forward just wants the information to digest and doesn't want HLO to go through each one of them, please don't hesitate to let Sylvie know.
Excellent.
All right.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, moving on to the regulatory report. So since 2017, we still have one on there. Again, we're attempting to clear up a more recent case that involves this 2017 case. So in 2019, we still have 6 cases open. 2021, we have 135 open, and currently there's 40 new cases with a total of 182 cases currently open and being worked. And looking at the report, does anybody have any questions or concerns?
I don't.
Okay. All right, Michelle. I don't have anything for policy to go over.
Okay.
Oh, the administrative rule update. I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit. Yes, we do. So we did have the fee increase go into effect January 1. And that's about all that I recall was on that, on the policy piece. And we may have a lot of discussion from the public in our next piece of this. So unless anybody has any questions, the board, that is, with regards to the reports, Michelle, we can move on to the next piece.
Excellent.
And that
Do
would
we
be-
need a motion at all?
Nope,
Awesome.
no ma'am. So you do have a script?
Oh, for the public interested parties feedback?
Yes.
All right. Well, we whipped through that. At this time, the Board of Cosmetology will hear public interested parties feedback. Members of the public, please wait until you have been recognized. Once recognized, please state your name and affiliation to the board for the record.
Hi, this is Bob with HLO. Is there anybody on the phone that wanted to make any comments or anything?
This is Sharon Weiser.
Hi, Sharon.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Can you please?
I do have a question.
Okay.
I noticed that the fees went up dramatically. Can I know why? They went from $40. Somebody was asking if you got a break when you renewed online. Well, before you did get a $5 break.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 40 online and 45 by mail. Well, then I went and I checked it a little bit ago, and you don't get a break, just as you mentioned, and it went up to $65 per field. I just would like to know why.
Hey there, this is Ragnar. We've discussed this at the last few meetings, actually. There was a change in the structure of our agency. We used to be the health licensing office, and we operated independently as a board under them. The legislature and the state, I suppose, decided to switch us from being an independent agency. We moved underneath the Oregon Health Authority. In doing so, we incurred a lot of additional operating expenses. We now contribute to the operating expense budget of the Oregon Health Authority as a whole. And that just pretty much drastically increased operating expenses for cosmetology, both as a board and just part of the licensed professions in general. So whereas prior to the shift to the Oregon Health Authority, we were operating with lower fees and a budget surplus, we were able to pretty consistently reduce fees over the last several years.
Right.
Ever since that move into the Oregon Health Authority, we've had additional expenses that I've gotten the impression nobody was really prepared for how much more it would be. And as a result, we've had to increase fees in order to cover the new deficits. We've been running at a loss for, well, ever since we switched into the Oregon Health Authority. But that wasn't something that the board voted on and decided to do. That was a decision that was made for us. And I think we've all pretty consistently railed against it since then. I hope that explains it a little bit.
No, and it does, but it doesn't make any sense to me because from what I'm hearing, it sounds like very few people are, it sounds like people are not renewing their licenses. I don't see how this is going to make it any better.
Thank you for your input, Sharon.
And Ragnar, thank you. I couldn't have said it better myself. You did a very good job.
Thank you, sir. Sharon, I don't give up on the profession yet. We're right in the middle of a pandemic, and we're coming through it. We're getting out to the other side. All of these variants are becoming less and less deadly, and as people are returning to work and as businesses reopen, I think the folks that might have been sitting at home and haven't needed an active license are going to find themselves reentering the workforce and renewing those licenses. And Oregon's opening up a little bit more every day. I'm a cosmetologist. I'm an esthetician, but I'm also a nurse. And I can tell you down here in Lane County, our new infection rates are decreasing consistently. And that's a great thing. More and more businesses are reopening. More and more people are getting back to it and getting back at it, getting back to work. So as people return to especially fields like cosmetology, where you're in such close proximity with others, of course, we're going to see an increase in business and a return to normalcy once the pandemic is winding down. And I'm personally super excited that we're getting to the end of it because I'm exhausted. But I don't think that there's cause for alarm. People aren't going to stop getting their nails done, their hair done, their skin taken care of. It's just that we've had fewer opportunities to do so as Oregonians. And as businesses begin to reopen, I fully anticipate that we're going to see a sharp spike and a return to the old normal in terms of licensing numbers.
Thanks, Ragnar.
This is Hélène
All
Norlet.
right, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I think there's one more. There's another. Go ahead, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Hélène Norlet. I have two questions, actually. One is regarding the new rules for aesthetic, following the legislation from last year. When can we expect those rules to be done? And then the other question is, I know there is a empty seat on the board, and I was wondering when can we expect that to be done? Thank you.
Are you interested in?
I don't think, I didn't get the second question.
There's a vacancy on the board.
Oh.
And when would it be filled? And if you're interested in it, we'd be happy to hear from you.
So if the seat
There's a website. There's a website on Oregon.gov
I know,
where you can request consideration.
I've actually applied for the seat, and the fact it's taken spot, and it's been 6 months, and I've not heard anything either one way or the other. So I'm just wondering if it's done or this is kind of taking.
Yeah, there's without getting in. This is Bob. Without getting into a lot. There's been a vacancy here in the office, and the individual that works with the boards specifically has taken another job, and so we're attempting to fill that position now.
I'm talking about the Board of Cosmetology.
Yes,
not,
yes, exactly. So we have 17 boards and commissions here, and we have one person that works with the board members and the governor's office to get folks that are interested in being on the boards confirmed. That position here in the office is vacant, so we have not been able to move any applications forward very quickly with the governor's office.
You can
Thank you,
also
Bob.
follow up with the
Thank you for
governor's
the
office
question.
directly. I followed up directly myself when I applied to the board. I never actually spoke to anyone at HLO before I joined the board. So the gentleman who's in charge of that in the governor's office, his name is Judge. His contact information is on Kate Brown's the governor's section of the Oregon website, and you can feel free to reach out to him directly because health licensing, we do help to facilitate that process as far as moving it forward and I guess lighten a fire under the appropriate people's butts in terms of, hey, look at this. But when it comes down to who makes the decision, no one in our office or on our board has any say whatsoever. That's 110% the governor's decision, and she has an office that's dedicated to that. So if you have concerns about whether or not that's been looked at, whether or not that's been addressed, or if you'd like that to be sped up as far as the process goes, you need to direct those concerns to Kate Brown's office because she's the one who's ultimately responsible for the entire process. And she'll make that decision, not us.
Okay, and what's the name of this gentleman again? The person at the governor's office that is in charge.
And I don't want to misspeak. I know who it was when I applied. He's been doing it for years, but I would encourage you to go to the website and the contact info for the person in charge of it. It's right down there at the bottom. You go to the executive appointments office website, scroll down to the bottom. It says contact us, and his information will be right there on the first page.
Thanks, Ragnar.
Thank you. And then my second question was regarding the rules.
And the rules for aesthetics?
Yes, that needs to be kind of written. So we can, as a petition, know what we need to be doing.
So the current rules that are right. So just to FYI, the current rules that are in effect are on our website.
Yes, but since they don't reflect the new legislation, I mean, it needs to be done, rather sooner than later.
Which legislation are you speaking of?
The legislation that was passed in March 2021 regarding the new scope of practice for estheticians.
Okay. I'll make a note and I'll look into that.
Bob, it's Michelle. I don't think anything has changed or has been decided as of yet for that legislation that you're speaking of, unless you would like to say exactly, specifically, are you asking about microneedling, depth, the difference between an esthetician and an advanced esthetician?
No, I'm not asking. I'm just kind of asking what the timeline is. There's no plan to continue the discussion on the rules. There's no. I mean, it started back at the end of the end of 2021, and now it's all. So I'm just wondering if there's any plan of starting again, the writing of the rules. There's some racks that were organized.
Yeah, so the board specialist is not in the meeting today, so I can't really speak to that, but I've made a note and I will reach out to her and the director with your question. And hopefully you can bring it up at the next board meeting if it hasn't transpired or they don't reach out to you. Did you log when you signed on? Did you send April Fleming an email?
Yes.
Would you please send her another email about that? And she works with the board specialist, and that way we'll know how to respond to you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for your question. Okay, is there anyone else with public questions? questions or feedback?
Okay.
All right. Looks like it's time for us to end this party. So at this time, the Board of Cosmetology will hear, or excuse me, I'm sorry, we did that. The Board of Cosmetology meeting is adjourned at 10:41 a.m. All right, thanks you guys.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.